It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
So folks, we're going to make you very healthy today. This is going to be a great show. I'm going to tell you this. Get your DVRs out, tape the show, call your friends up, because when you're finished listening to this show, you're going to be healthier, or you're going to become healthier, and you're going to stay you're alive a little bit longer. What am I talking about? I have two guests today. One, world-renowned, in my estimation, board-certified cardiologist, Stephen Sinatra. Dr. Stephen Sinatra. You've seen him on Dr. Mead's show, and guess who's here with him? Dr. Thomas Mead. Probably, again, a world-renowned orthopedic surgeon. I mean, I'm just loaded with great talent here today. Steve, thanks for coming up from Florida and Connecticut on the Sam Lesante Show. I saw you on Tom's show, and it was absolutely fabulous. And I thought we would just, expand a little bit about what you guys discussed. First of all, for those people who do not know they know Sinatra, but they don't know
Right.
Dr. Stephen Sinatra.
That's right. They know the other, the Blue Eye Sinatra.
Yeah, right. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Steve.
Well, I graduated medical school in 1972. Did an internship in psychiatry and medicine. Then I did a medical residency. Then I did a cardiovascular fellowship where we studied just 2 years of intense emergency cardiology. And then I realized I needed to learn more about emotions in the heart because I was seeing a lot of sudden death in my training, and I decided to become a psychotherapist. Then I realized I needed a lot to know about nutrition, so I studied with the American College of Nutrition and took the CNS exam, which means a Certified Nutrition Specialist. And then I realized I needed to learn about aging, so then I took the examination in anti-aging medicine. So I sort of had to have a broad-based history in psychology, emotionality, physical illness, mental illness, and I've all bundled it together in anti-aging medicine and preventive medicine.
Well, it reminds me of the story of the person who went to college and they became a freshman and they were brilliant. Then they became a sophomore, but they weren't as brilliant as a freshman, and they became a junior, and they weren't as smart and then became a senior, and there's so much knowledge out there. The more you learn, the dumber you become.
Absolutely.
And I was on your website, and I really encourage you to go on his website or Google him. Dr. Stephen Sinatra. It just goes on and on and on. I always ask people this question. I think I asked Tom when he was on my show before, what made you go into medicine, Stephen?
Actually, it was my mother. She was a brittle diabetic when I was a young boy. And I came home from school when I was 10 years old, and she was on the floor, and she was in diabetic shock. And she was in and out of the hospital, and I decided as a young boy that in order to save my mother, I needed to become a doctor. I mean, I made that connection at an early age. And, I studied hard, and I wrestled through high school and college, and I got a wrestling scholarship to college. And I think the discipline of wrestling was sort of launched me into becoming a doctor, because when you go to medical school, and you know what that's like, I mean, it's a baptism by fire. And we were in the days of the Iron Men. We were up every other night, every third night, and as interns and residents. So the discipline of being a college athlete was my segue into medical school, because I said I can do this, and I was able to do it.
And you love it, don't you?
And I love it.
Yeah. Tom, no stranger to the viewing audience, as we all know. You're close to maybe up to 1,500, 1,300 knees a year. You're leading orthopedic surgeon, knee surgery in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. What was your connection with Dr. Sinatra? Because you had him on your show a couple times.
My connection with Dr. Sinatra is half of what I do in orthopedics is I talk about lifestyle. I love the patients, and half of their problem could be corrected by lifestyle changes. So I was on a mission years ago. I'm always talking to patients, searching the literature, and through a mutual friend I came across Dr. Sinatra, and that was Dwayne Gravlin, who was really into the side effects of different medicines. And I saw the side effects, and people know that who watch the show, anti-inflammatory, statins, and through Dwayne's work on the adverse effects of some of the medications, especially statins. I came across Steve's work on cardiology and the natural approach to cardiology. And I would see all these patients in the office that were on a ton of medicines and diuretics and weren't getting better. And I tell the story a couple times, including my dad, who was suffering from some congestive heart disease. I read his book on metabolic cardiology, and that was just one of the books that he wrote. And I started following Dr. Sinatra, and then I called him, and we had a connection, and I said, if you're ever coming through Pennsylvania, stop in. I want to talk to you. We do a TV show, and he happened to be coming through into Maryland. We did a great show on metabolic cardiology years ago, and since then
Five years ago?
We've been friends, and he's done a bunch of books, and we sort of connect. You think cardiologists and orthopedists don't connect, but we both treat one thing, and that's inflammation. That's the basis of both of our practices. So we've become great friends. We share information. We have a lot of fun together.
The interesting thing is you're contrary to what a lot of other doctors prescribe. They're prescribing SANs, okay? And listening to your shows, it seems like this is taboo to a degree. And so that's where, who do you believe? I mean, so I'm out there, I listen to Sinatra and he tells me one thing. I listen to Mead and I go to my doctor and he's giving me prescriptions to take all these things, et cetera, et cetera. Where's the research here, Steve? Where is how do you know that what you're telling me, you did research on it, or is, this
Right.
confuses me as a patient.
Sam, that's an excellent question. I mean, look, there's an enormous amount of confusion out there in our society. I mean, you go to 5 different doctors, you're going to get 5 different opinions.
Exactly.
And what I tell people to do is, find a doctor that you can resonate with and that you trust. I mean, Tom and I, we're a breed of doctors that are always training, always going to conferences, always reading, always writing books, writing clinical articles, publishing in the literature, doing research, and just trying to learn about this stuff. Because I have to tell you, first time I wrote a book, I was depressed because I realized how much I didn't know. And now I've written 20 books, and I still don't know enough. And
I know.
And I have to tell you, healing people, it's not a science, it's an art. You've got to look at their spirituality, what they're thinking, negative thinking, positive thinking, what supplements they use, what diet they use. Are they drinking healthy water? Are they exercising? Is there emotional toxicity in their life? Is there heartbreak in their life? Is there a lack of love? I mean, there's so many different, moving parts. And when people get sick, it's always a perfect storm. It's always something that's been brewing on both the physical, emotional, and spiritual level. The body gets out of balance, and all of a sudden, wham, you have a heart attack or cancer. But it takes years to really develop, that situation.
And so your job and Dr. Mead's job is to start letting people understanding that at an early stage so we could prevent that perfect storm.
Absolutely. In other words, I tell people this: don't get sick in America today. You don't want to go to a hospital. Errors occur in hospitals. There's drug reactions. Did you read that article in JAMA? The 4th leading cause of death in America today is properly prescribed pharmaceutical medications. Properly prescribed. That follows, cancer, heart disease, stroke, and then basically.
My wife is a registered nurse. She's been saying that for years. Okay,
really?
She has a show here too, but she's been saying that for years. Folks, if you just tuned in, I told you you're going to learn a lot today. We're going to learn about the Mediterranean diet, which is fabulous, and also to continue on as to what Dr. Sinatra has to tell us about, like you said, let's prevent that perfect storm. And of course, what is Dr. Mead's success? Why is he the leading orthopedic surgeon in northeastern and central Pennsylvania? Could you imagine he does up to 1,500 knees a year? Whew, amazing. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7, ssptv.com. Any one of our shows you could watch there, you name it. And also my email, sam@ssptv.com. My guest today, world-renowned cardiologist Dr. Steven Sinatra, and of course, world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Thomas Mead, no stranger to this our broadcast system here. You're talking about cardiology and getting people to understand their bodies now, and we talk about supplements. Okay, of course, supplements are one thing, but you should have a diet as well. And when I say diet, I don't mean diet losing weight, but eating properly.
Right.
So before we get to the supplements, let's talk about, and you've done a lot of work on this, what is the Mediterranean diet?
Well, Sam, the Mediterranean diet is really what I feel is the best diet in the world. I love the Pan-Asian diet as well. I combine them and I call it the Pan-Asian modified Mediterranean. But if you take pizza and pasta out of the Mediterranean diet, it becomes sort of like a Paleolithic diet. And the reason why that's good is because you have fruits, vegetables, legumes, you have fish, maybe even some shellfish. The Mediterraneans don't eat a lot of chunks of meat like Americans do, but they flavor their sauces with meat. There's a lot of nuts and especially olive oil. And I really feel that one of the reasons why there's so much longevity in the Mediterranean basin, and for example, the average Greek man lives 8 years longer than the average American man. The average Spanish woman develops breast cancer probably 6 times less than the average American woman. So there's something behind these statistics. And if you really look at it, it's really the pattern of eating. You get a lot of polyphenols, antioxidants, what we call phytonutrients, omega-3s in the Mediterranean diet. And I believe that the elixir, the real elixir, is olive oil. And the reason why the olive oil is so incredible in healing, not only does it help to lower blood pressure and it helps to raise HDL cholesterol and it makes small particle LDL a little more fluffier and it supports the inner lining of blood vessels. We've known that. But what we just realized in only the last few years is that olive oil, extra virgin pure olive oil, downregulates pro-inflammatory genes, which means that when you down-regulate a pro-inflammatory situation, and Dr. Mead said it before, we know that inflammation is the root cause of disease. When you take out the possibility of more inflammation, now you're aging less, and doctors call that oxidative stress. You're getting less oxidative stress. You're getting more, age to your years, more bounce in your step, more energy, and less illness. And that's what the Mediterranean diet has shown in trial after trial after trial. Less diabetes, less depression, less Alzheimer's, less heart attack, less stroke, and the list goes on and on.
So what do you eat?
What do I eat? Fruits, vegetables. I'll do lots of nuts. I love olive oil. Like for lunch today, I had a salad and I had scallops, and a nice little sauce, and that was my lunch. So if a person can do a lot of the diet plant-based, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and different types of root vegetables, especially like beets, carrots, parsnips. A lot of these vegetables, we only learned this in the last, I'd say, few years. They secrete what we call nitric oxide. And if these green vegetables have nitric oxide in it, this causes vasodilation of the blood vessels in the body. So it's a natural vasodilator in the body, and nitric oxide tends to make us younger as well. In other words, we age less when we have it. Grapeseed extract has it, vitamin C has it. I mean, there's certain nutraceuticals that have it, but if you eat a lot of green, organic vegetables, that's one of the best things you can do, especially if you drizzle it with olive oil and put that elixir of life on it as well.
Tom, your experience with operating on the knees and the bones.
Well, I tell you, the patients in my practice that adhere to a Mediterranean type diet are a whole different animal than my patients that adhere to the American diet of processed food and sugar, which is absolutely poison. And it's the reason 80 to 90% of my knee replacement patients are overweight or obese. I did 8 knee replacements this morning.
He's a lacquer. He's a slacker.
Well, but the real key to our team was that the first 2 had a BMI of 48 and 44. That means they were between 100 and 200 pounds above their ideal weight. I could tell you they weren't on the Mediterranean diet.
Oh.
Their chance of healing goes down, infection, complications, blood clots. So it's everything that Steve said. It's really common sense. If it comes from a mother or the earth, it's a pretty good rule. If you look in your cupboard and it's been there for 3 months, you should probably throw it out because it has so much processed chemicals in there. It's probably bad for you. it's not that hard. You know, if you look at the French there or the Italians, they walk down to the fish market every day, or they're walking home with a loaf of bread and fish and vegetables, and then you can tolerate it. But the way we eat, and it wasn't our fault. We've been dealt a bill of goods since 70 years ago when a scientist by the name of Ansel Keys in our country convinced everybody through flawed data that saturated fat was bad for you. And that really pushed our government and the associations to tell everybody that low fat is good, which was horrendous because they replaced it with sugar and everybody got fat. That's basically it in a nutshell, and diabetic.
So Steve, again, we hear there's so many different diet plans and nutritional plans, etc. Now, I was on your website, and I see that you have a lot of supplemental stuff, that you recommend and that you sell. And not to market, but I'm just trying to say that, from your years of experience and the success that you had, there's no way Eddie was going to tell me that he doesn't know doing knee when he does thousands of them, So he has success in with your background. So I'm watching this show, and I'm excited, and I want to. I want to say, well, look, no matter what age I am, if I don't eat meat that much, but once in a while, I do like maybe a veal chop or something like that. You're telling me, well, Sam, that means you can never have it. It's just that you just don't want to make a habit of always eating meat, okay? So moderation to a degree?
Yes, balance.
Balance. How could you help me then? And I'm looking at these people out there, okay, what about supplements? What kind of supplements should I take? But before I start pounding with supplements, I may be eating all the wrong things to begin with. Hold that thought. I'm talking to Dr. Sinatra and Dr. Mead, folks, and I know what you're thinking. Well, what do I do? Do I run and buy all these supplements? But what are you eating? Okay, so we want to put you on the right track, at least so we can keep you around a little bit longer. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante, and you're watching us on SSP TV or all the other cable companies we're broadcasting on. My guest today, world-renowned Dr. Steven Sinatra. You've seen him on Dr. Mead Show a number of times. Great show. You got to Google that or go to our website and watch the show with Sinatra and Mead, and Dr. Mead's here himself. We're talking about supplements and the Mediterranean diet and olive oil. So okay, I'm used to eating certain things. Okay, is pasta bad for me?
Not good.
Okay. You're starting to get on my nerves now, Steve. Okay,
my last name is Sinatra. Yeah. That was a heartbreak, but I had to
now you're telling me pasta.
Too.
Okay, so tell me what I should be doing before I go to the supplements, because people say I'm eating all this stuff, but I'll get supplements. I don't know if that works.
Let's keep it simple, Sam. Yeah. The easiest thing is let's throw out the white flours. In other words, not completely, but years ago when I used to believe in this fat myth that Tom just talked about, I used to eat pasta, salad, and bread every day, avoided red meat, and I gained 25 pounds, and I developed a little insulin resistance. The best thing to do is this. Avoid the white flours. That means less bread, less pasta, less rice, less potatoes, less crackers, less bagels. In other words, less sugar. Remember, sugar is not just the stuff you put in your tea and coffee. It comes from flour. So if you're eating a lot of flour-based products, you're getting a lot of sugar. The average American eats 162 pounds of sugar a year. It's killing us. So let's put off the flours. Look, I was in a restaurant today with Tom. We had lunch together. I didn't eat the bread. Now, will I eat no bread? Hey, if somebody invites me over to their house and they bake a loaf of bread, sure, I'll eat a little bread. But I'm not going to buy it, and I'm not going to put it in my daily diet because it's going to make me gain weight and because it brings nothing to the table. It's just empty calories. Sodas are the worst foods you can possibly eat. Dead calories, pure sugar. So a non-inflammatory diet is key. Again, fresh fruits and vegetables, and mix it up with legumes, nuts. Nuts are very healthy. I talked about the olive oil. What's next? You need supplements. Even if you eat a pure non-inflammatory diet and you throw out the flours, we are, as a population, we are depleted in nutrients. And the reason is a lot of Americans take pharmaceutical drugs, and pharmaceutical drugs deplete nutrients. The classic example, it would be statins, deplete coenzyme Q10. Statins are incredible cholesterol killers. They drive cholesterol down, but they also drive down the most important nutrient for the heart, and that's coenzyme Q10. Aspirin knocks out folic acid, for example. Women on birth control pills, they knock out B vitamins. So there are large segments of the population, and anybody who smokes is going to be depleted in vitamin C. So there are large segments of the population that need vitamin and mineral support, especially the aging population. People over the age of 50, nutrients tend to go down in the body. For example, the body makes coenzyme Q10, but after the age of 50, the body makes less of it. The body makes carnitine, but again, it makes less of it as we age. So it's very, very important to really supplement our non-inflammatory, healthy diet with targeted nutraceutical supplements, because it's not only the aging factor and the factor of a lot of Americans take pharmaceutical drugs which deplete nutrients, but we got insecticides to deal with, pesticides, heavy metals, mercury in the atmosphere, trans fats, electromagnetic smog, which really injure our DNA. You take the sugar and all those environmental stresses, and we're in double handcuffs.
You're killing me.
So, yeah, it's killing us. And again, there's so much high blood pressure in our society.
Yeah.
There's so much overweight status. There are so many situations where we have created a sea of inflammation in our body. And the way to get rid of it is eat healthy and take targeted nutraceuticals at the same time.
What targeted nutraceuticals are you referring to?
Oh, I take a gram of omega-3 essential fatty acids. I like calamine oil from squid because it's higher in DHA. We call it docosahexaenoic acid. Sorry for the term.
Yeah.
But it's good for the retina of the eye, the brain, and the heart. I take coenzyme Q10. I take a multivitamin every day. I take a little bit of L-carnitine. And I take an electrolyte drink that I formulated that has 500 milligrams of potassium, 100 of magnesium, all the minerals in it, especially sea minerals, seaweed. Americans are deficient in iodine. We have a lot of thyroid disease in this country. You know, our salt doesn't have iodine. So we need minerals. I can't overemphasize that. Our soils are so depleted. We don't have the magnesium that we had in the soils or the phosphates. So we need a lot of minerals. So I take a mineral, an electrolyte, I call it an electrolyte supplement. And I mentioned, and I think coenzyme Q10 is really the most significant
Now
supplement.
you could
of
buy
them
this
all.
over the counter?
Yeah, you can go to any health food store and get coenzyme Q10.
What about this vitamin K2? Is that?
Oh yeah, this is where Tom and I are sort of aligned. You know, we're like frickin' frack on this one. I learned about vitamin K2 from the original researchers from the Netherlands about 7 years ago, and basically vitamin K2. It's not like vitamin K1 that has to do with blood coagulation. K2 is found in like natto that the Japanese eat, or cheeses, hard cheeses that the Europeans eat. And basically what it does, it takes calcium out of our blood vessels where it doesn't belong, and it puts it back in bones where it does belong. So a cardiologist like myself, I take 300 micrograms of what I call metaquinone 7. It's called vitamin K2. And I'm trying to take the calcium out of my blood vessels because you don't need that. It's a sign of aging. And I want to put it back in my bones where it belongs. So vitamin K2 is a perfect supplement for both the orthopedic surgeon who's dealing with osteoporosis or the cardiologist who's dealing with inflammatory cardiovascular disease.
And your input on that?
I take it myself, and the same thing.
You take a pill? Is it a pill, K2?
Yeah, it's a little pill. It's a little red pill.
How come you never told me about that?
Well, I was going to tell you tonight.
Yeah. You tell me on the show.
Tell you
Yeah.
tonight.
You tell me everything else, but you don't tell me the good stuff.
It comes back to what Steve said. We're on this voyage of constant education, and a lot of docs, they sort of stop learning when they leave medical school. So one of my advices to patients is become your own educated consumer. We're here as physicians to become consultants, but we are not the commandant of the prison camp. I mean, we sort of give you information to help you. And a lot of people come in and they say, okay, Dr. Mead, I got to exercise, fix my knees, I have to lose weight. And to put it in perspective, athletes always think when we're younger, we'll exercise and lose weight. I said, if there's two components, nutrition and exercise, nutrition is much more important than exercise to lose weight. You need a little bit of both, but to put it in a formula, I say, if I had to come up with a formula, I'd say it's 80% change your nutrition, 20% exercise, and you'll be much happier. Because you can go to the gym and work out and not change your appetite, and you're not going to lose one darn bit of weight. You're actually going to gain weight. You're going to get hungry, go home and eat. And so there's a lot of practical advice. People go, you're kidding. I go, no, your knees are killing you. You can't exercise. But frankly, if you change lifestyle, which is mostly habit, you ask people like Dr. Sinatra said, they say, I don't eat much bread. I said, did you have toast for breakfast? Yeah, I just had one piece. Did you have a sandwich for lunch? Yeah, I just had one, a sandwich. And at dinner, just one piece of bread with pasta. And I'm going, oh my God, you just had 4 pieces of bread per day. It's like change the name of bread to a fat storage pill and say, instead of having a piece of toast, can I please have a fat storage pill? Because whatever else you eat, it will store that fat.
Wow.
And say, can I have two fat storage pills with that ham? And people will stop eating the bread, except on occasion. I eat it on occasion, but like Steve, I don't have it at home. If I go out, it's a luxury, but I don't have it 4 times a day.
Well, you know, it's amazing, and I'm sure the viewers out there saying, you know, they're just sucking all this up, and it's confusing to a degree. I would highly suggest, folks, you go to Google Dr. Steven Sinatra, and there's tons of information there. You have supplements, you have a lot of stuff that you have that you manufacture or you sell, right?
Yeah, that's drsinatra.com, and for information, it's heartmdinstitute.com.
Yes.
I have a lot of video if people are confused about what.
Heartmdinstitute.com is where you want to go, folks.
Right.
Tom, it's always nice seeing you.
Nice
Your
seeing
show
you,
is doing
Sam.
extremely well, as I said. You know, I taught him everything he knows. I just want you to know
Vitamin
that, Steve.
K2, Sam, start taking that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. He just tells me now to take the vitamin K2. Okay, MD, it's called, I'm sorry, the website again is
Heart MD Institute.
heartmdinstitute.com, and you'll learn a lot more about that. Hopefully gave you some information, folks, and some down the road. Now, Dr. Sinatra has been on Dr. Meat Show a couple times, and he talks a lot more about what we discussed today. So just go on the website and Google Dr. Meat Show, or hit Dr. Meat Show, and you'll see, you'll learn a lot more. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.